what do you think that travel companies could do more in terms of innovating the way they communicate their offer?
I believe that if you help travelers to travel better, you're gonna be a super cool company in travel.
So, hi everyone. We are ready to kick off our Blinkoo podcast with the first guest.
That's pretty cool, actually, being the first guest at my own podcast with you as a host, which are the person basically producing here all the ideas. So it's pretty cool.
Tell us something about yourself first.
All right. For sure, I'm a traveler. The first, characteristic of myself is probably that one. Explorer, I would say, somehow. And an entrepreneur. I think my first company was founded in 2012. I was like 22. Didn't do a great job at that time. I wasn't really expert. And then I discovered traveling after a few years, and I basically never stopped. And I entered so much in travel that I decided to build a travel startup, which is Blinkoo. And I would say that is defining pretty much my personality now. So who is Smeraldo? Well, it's the founder of Blinkoo, first of all. And then maybe, some small part of private life as well.
Okay. So, yeah, this podcast is about stories, is about brands, is about innovators as yourself. And what do you think is going to bring to people that listen to us?
Well, the idea of the podcast came from the fact that by working with several companies in travel, big corporations sometimes startups, or sometimes I would call them scale-ups. So it's like older startups which are growing a lot. I spoke with people that surprised me, inspired me, and I saw that many of them have ideas and a philosophy of work that is making a difference. And somehow they don't know each other. Somehow they are not somehow collected in travel. And I believe also this. Many people say that travel is a slow industry. It's a slow industry in terms of innovation and also growth. And I don't really believe that. I believe that if somehow innovators are collected in one way, which is the idea of this podcast, a lot of people will benefit from that. So the whole industry may benefit from that, especially if we are successful with this podcast.
We're sure we're going to be successful. So since it's about stories, let's start with your story, and let's start with some fun question about your coolest experience or weirdest experience that you had on a travel.
I love this question. Fun fact, the coolest experience and the weirdest experience, it has been in the same place, in the same trip, which is Philippines 2019, which is the trip that defined the idea of Blinkoo as well. So the idea came from this long trip. It was like a few months traveling around Asia after getting out of my previous job experience. And I've been traveling for a few months in different countries. And when I got to the Philippines, I was like, wow, that's different, right? In terms of beauty, but also in terms of, organization and mass and all this stuff. Like, it's like the two extremes at the same time. Probably people would say the same about India, but I've never been in India, actually. I can say this about the Philippines. You have the extreme beauty and the extreme mass at the same time. And it's somehow beautiful. The best part, it was, finding myself in some locations that they look like painted. They couldn't be real. It's like, come on, how is this possible? How could this be just natural, right? And the weirdest experience was really funny. I would probably have gone to jail if I didn't act in the right way. So I was taking a cab with a local app, which is called Grab. It's very popular around Asia. And the car arrived. And I opened the door. The music was extremely loud, and I was like, okay, that's something weird here. But anyway, the car was that one, that model, that color, in that moment that I see like from the upcoming, right? So I enter the car and I close the door and I see two people in front. And the music was so loud, they didn't even look at me. I was like, okay, fine. And, after 100 meters, the music was bothering me because it was really high. It was like a party. I was like, hey, guys, I started screaming, can you please lower down the music? Well, fun fact, that wasn't my cab. It was a private car. I was basically in the car of somebody randomly that didn't notice that I entered inside the car at the last stop that they had close to the traffic light. So they start screaming, and I got surprised that they were screaming, so I started screaming as well. And then I showed them the app, and I was like, "Aren't you a taxi?" All right. So yeah, the situation then can calm down, and we start all laughing. And they were like, "How did you enter in the car without us realizing?" I was like, "Guys, your music was super loud. You didn't even notice the door closing." So yeah, I've been traveling like for probably a couple of minutes in a random car, in the Philippines with these guys.
Do you think this could be something that people want to share too, not just the good part of a trip, but also like the weirdest part?
Oh yeah, 100% yes. So I would say that if you have to inspire somebody about going somewhere, it's more about the experience itself, so about the quality of the things and everything. But when people, talk about the trips, which is, let's call it the entertainment after the trip with your friends, this is the thing that we share actually. It's like the bad experience is like the super weird stuff, is like the behavior, or I don't know what I'm eating here, or all of this stuff somehow that maybe they're not great for marketing, let's say. So in Blinkoo specifically, we focus on content that is showing the cool stuff that you are gonna get by a specific trip, but actually that's an interesting perspective. You're making me think on this. Okay, I will stop. Let's go to the next question.
Not just because, I was thinking about TripAdvisor. So people share, their good experience with restaurants, but not just for restaurants, they want to show like the downside of
Yeah.
what they do, what they experience, and to share like the meaning of sharing authentic experiences, also say when something is not great.
Yeah.
So that could be maybe.
That's the point. I mean, we don't say to don't share, the downside of an experience. Actually, the downside of an experience is part of the experience. So authenticity means not saying something fake. So what we do not suggest to creators in Blinkoo is to upload content of something that they don't recommend at all. Because by uploading something that you don't recommend, you're actually recommending it. Simple as that. But if you go to a hotel and the hotel is not super cool, but it has a room with a beautiful view and a beautiful balcony on the sea, and just because of that is worthy, and maybe it's super cheap as well, you can say that the hotel is not super cool, but look at this view here, like it's super worthy, right? So if you're honest and you say, what could make the trip better, like within everything that can be also bad, I think that's really good advices.
Okay, that's great. And how did you come up with the idea of Blinkoo? You were yourself someone that is used to share its own experiences, or?
All right. The idea of Blinkoo didn't come up in 1 second. It wasn't absolutely formed, I would say, for a long time. In the beginning, I had the idea to do something in travel in general because I like travel. But then I realized that travel is complex. There is a lot of things that I didn't know. And in the beginning was, I would say, a travel planning tool somehow, the first idea. And by traveling Asia to discover a little bit, maybe bigger problems and all this stuff on, what to build, I felt that when I was taking decisions in terms of like where to go and what to do and all this stuff, it was mostly when I was watching videos on YouTube that were actually inspiring me. Mostly YouTube at that time. There was not much on Instagram yet, or TikTok was still, something like dancing and that's all, right? So I was focusing on YouTube, and I was like, wait 1 second. Every time that I'm picking a decision in terms of place and exact experiences, I'm inspired by a person and a video. So maybe that's the thing, right? So I was looking for a platform that, was doing that, vertically and didn't exist. And I was like, all right, maybe there is a space here in the market. And it started as a B2C app in the beginning, but then we realized that money in travel is coming only by trips. We didn't want to sell trips because we are not a travel company, we are tech and media. So we decided to pivot the business model, but the philosophy in the background is the same. It's people inspiring others to travel through their travel experiences shown in authentic videos.
Okay, so how do you know if a content is authentic?
Oh, there is a lot of factors that can be checked. First of all, taking it like not in a professional way, you feel it as a user. Because the point is not convincing a professional person that this is good. It's convincing a person that is a user that is judging you in 1.3 seconds. That's the time that people decide to scroll away a content, right? So if you start with a shot that it's hyper saturated and looks visibly non-real, you lost the user, right? So I would say it's first of all a vibe, and then there is a set of rules that we share in the app to help creators, build the content that we know that is going to be eventually authentic and useful, and also somehow making them rewarded for their work.
Okay, that's interesting, because of course, like this is a word like full and packed of influencers and creators, and sometimes we don't know how to decide if a content is true or was paid. So Blinkoo is about user-generated content. What is a tip that you would give people to showcase their experiences?
So I would say the biggest difference between influencer content and Blinkoo content is, I would say, the reason why they are shot. And then maybe the same videos can be used in both of the ways, like Instagram content or Blinkoo content. But Blinkoo content is very raw. It's like it's not an edited video, I would say. It's more like the video that you shoot to then create the edits for Instagram. And the edits for Instagram are the one making your content on Instagram working. The edits for TikTok is slightly different. Maybe it's faster or slower. Or YouTube Shorts, based on the audience that is following you, you need to edit things in a different way. Blinkoo is the, untouched. It's like you could just put the phone on your heart and go and do the video like this potentially. There is an app in the past that did something like that. It wasn't very successful, but the idea was cool. It was called Beam, something like this. And we want to capture real moments. And we see that from a marketing perspective, paradoxically speaking, we think that, high quality content in terms of like resolution and professionality, in how to do that is gonna, make the content be better. But when it's about sharing the human experience, what is better, it's something that looks like very far from advertising, from something that is set up. So if you are a creator in general, if you want to be convincing, you gotta be yourself. Simple as that. Of course, some creators are getting paid for doing and saying things, and they're forced to say that that's an ad, and which is totally okay. It's fair and honest. I got paid, and I say something to because I got paid. But then the authentic shots, you eating, your smile, that has to be real. And if that's real, in Blinkoo, that can be really, really working, because then these videos are, used for marketing purposes from the companies that are getting these videos. So this is like the difference. And some people call us the anti-influencers a little bit. I am not anti-influencers. I've been one actually in the past. It's more like, I think that when it's about human experience, less professional you are to show that, more people trust you. And that's the idea of UGC.
Okay. So you mentioned that stories and videos must be real, must be authentic, must be like true to the heart who is doing them and watching them. What is something that happened to you really wanted to share, like a moment that you wish you, I don't know, you made a video of it or you created content? Because sometimes, the best experiences are the one that you just enjoy. Let's say like sunset, okay?
I'm smiling because I already have something in my mind.
And you were thinking about sunset?
Actually, before sunset, it was a specific day.
Okay.
And I think with this, I'm going to share what is basically Blinkoo for me. And obviously, for many people, it can be different things because it's, a platform, everybody can share more or less what they want in terms of experience. But for me, it was this. I was very unlucky because I couldn't shot that one. But somehow I was lucky because I could focus on the moment. It was a day in which I was in the Busuanga Island, which is Coron. It's like these islands in Philippines. And generally people, when they come to this town, in this island, the only thing that they do is going to the port and get a boat and go to do an island hopping from the famous part. One day, randomly, I decided to rent a scooter. And, when everybody's going right, you go left, somehow, without knowing wherever I was going. Like, randomly, literally, didn't even check the Google Maps, nothing. I was with a few friends at the time. And we drive for like 40 minutes. There was nothing, and we're like, okay, pretty boring. And then we arrived to a village made of basically wood. And we were like, okay, is this safe or not? And then a kid came out and it was nobody else, saying, "Hello, guys," in perfect English. They speak English in the Philippines. "Are you tourists?" And we're like, "Yeah." "All right, I will bring you to my dad because he is the mayor of the town."
Wow.
So he was the mayor of the town and also the guy taking care of tourists. So for literally 15 euros, I remember like the price. It was in the local currency, but it was in euros. Was like 15 euros. We had an entire day with him, with his boat around islands in that part of the bigger island, and it was the best island hopping that I ever had because there was nobody, completely empty, and the guy was super nice and prepare food for us as well, and everything included, and was extremely cheap and unexpected. And the bad part was the fact that my phone felt in the water, wasn't waterproof at that time, so I couldn't shoot nothing.
But your friends did.
Uh,
No one had a picture or video of that experience.
Probably they did, like kind of Instagram story stuff and everything. I should ask them. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be cool.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's better to enjoy the moment, but it's also good that we can experience and share, things with other people. So you were mentioned that you travel a lot, and you still do that, while you're working, right?
More for work today, I would say, but yeah.
And how do you manage your private life and traveling all over the world with your job? So running Blinkoo.
That's a very good question. Did I say that I am actually able to manage it? Well, I would say that it's obviously hard. When you're a startup founder, it's like a job that many people wouldn't take because you are, paid a small amount of money for a long time till you make the company actually work. And but in the other sense, you're building your dream, so you don't care about these data. This is more like you need to make it work. And somehow I think that I became very good at recovery. So I'm able to work really long hours, and then I do some sauna, cold plunge, and some meditation, and day after I'm fresh, even though I worked a lot. And I generally take maybe, a couple of hours a week, maybe a couple of times as a quality time with my partner. And that's it. And then I take maybe a couple of times a week playing paddle. And yeah, the rest I basically work, and it doesn't matter the time and all this stuff. But somehow it's like, it's not really a work, it's different, If I wanted a job, I would work in a company, and it's different. When you are building your baby, somehow it's not a work, it's a mission.
I understand as an entrepreneur myself, so it's not easy, but it's worth it. So what was the biggest challenge you had to face running Blinkoo, and which one was your haha moment? Like you were like, yes, I made it, or...
Mm-hmm. All right. I'd say that you never can truly say you made it somehow, because every moment, even though you had maybe growth on something, is gonna bring you new challenges. So it's like more enjoying the process and making it a little bit easier for you by the time. The moment in which we were like struggling, it was every time that we tried different business models in the B2C apps, B2C app of Blinkoo, which weren't working because people are not willing to buy information today, and that's dead since a long time. The only thing that is being sold in travel in terms of info, it's Lonely Planet still. It's incredible, right? So when we realized that, we were like, okay, do we want to become a travel company? The reality is that no, somehow, because we never ran travel companies before. And so we tested out using videos to promote trips and build a funnel for a partner, and that actually worked out. It was like, all right, videos can be really helpful to the companies, right? And companies today are overpaying for videos because sending somebody all the time to do videos for you, it's extremely expensive. But as a company, you need much more videos than the one that you can pay. So we need to somehow find a model for companies to get more content and be able then to, compete with other industries where doing content is easy. Imagine like fashion and makeup, you can do things from home, literally, and this content is much cheaper than travel, because in travel you need to pay a lot of time of the person and all this stuff. You can do it time to time for specific like high quality content, but when you need to scale content and have like covered the 200 destination, what do? It's like, so Blinkoo I think, flipped the script in the moment in which we decided to provide the content to the companies, becoming the center of distribution for the creators. So creators don't need to speak with all of the companies, and we handle everything in one shot. Companies don't need to think about right management and payment because we handle everything. So that was I would say it happened like a year ago. And many people say that we are an old company with a new soul right now. And that's very true. It's like this understanding and finding out also the way to, make enough revenues, let's say, recreated a new Blinkoo, which is now like a company like growing.
Yeah, so let's say that Blink is more like a roller coaster or an adventure. What kind of travel is your favorite? Like you want, I think you mentioned once when we talk at the phone that you really look for best hotels and comfort when you travel.
So what I do normally is trying to get with my budget the best option somehow. Obviously, if the budget was infinite, it's infinite the quality you can get, but the budget is never infinite for anybody. Even for people that can spend a lot for traveling, they also have a price that they can, spend somehow. I would say that if Blinkoo was a destination and maybe related to the way that I'm traveling somehow, would be a mix of I get the luxury resort one day that I can afford, and then the rest is just hostels, struggling, barely sleeping, all this stuff. At the moment, it's like this because it's like a lot of hard work, and then one moment of like, wow, we sign a contract. That's pretty cool, amazing. Okay, let's get back to the hostel now.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I was thinking that you mentioned before that Blinkoo has innovated the travel industry, but not just for companies, also for travelers, because you're actually offering a different point of view and new ideas to how enjoy also their trips. What do you think that travel companies could do more in terms of innovating the way they communicate their offer?
That's a very good question. Obviously, I am probably biased because that's the lens that I'm seeing the world as well. We are helping companies to innovate the way that they are communicating to travelers through UGC. What I see is that we're working with some very cool travel companies, and they are like outstanding in terms of communication. They're outstanding in terms of growth as well. So many companies, or I would say the average of the industry is not growing very much. And of course, COVID didn't help and whatever. You can find a lot of excuses, but a lot of other industries are keep growing. And travel, it is interesting, it is sexy, but there is one thing that is different from other industries. It's not something that you do every day. So talking about neuromarketing, you don't remember, the act of organizing a trip as often as you remember something that you do like every 2 days, like eating some good food outside, for example, right? So what happens is that many companies are, I would say, just not as good as they should be in marketing in general. Not many companies are using the content like they should do, but the ones that are doing that, they are growing double digit. That's like impressive. And they're doing that in a way that was even surprising for me, that I am specialized in this. I would not expect that somebody was like having like a large database of content, for example. We're finding few companies that, have that, and they are doing things, amazingly. Obviously, we are specialized, so we are somehow supporting them anyway. They choose us to be partners in this journey and everything. But what is surprising me is that there is a lot of companies out there saying that they are very, let's say, slow in growth. They are trying to cut costs and all this stuff. But then you see how they are promoting themselves, and they are doing that something like, in the 90s, right? So it's obviously you're not gonna, catch the attention of the new travelers if you don't change the way you communicate, And so I would say that this is like the biggest thing that companies should do. And I think it's about making the trip better. So you could innovate anything. You can make like the most fancy button to buy a trip, and most easy to use button to click and buy, whatever. But, nobody will tell you, if you make a fancy button, I will accept a bad experience then after in the trip. People want a great experience, always. And, they have to choose a place, which is very stressful. They have to set up a budget, save money before. Like traveling is actually stressing, somehow, even though then it's relieving, it's amazing and is, probably one of the best part of our lives, right? But being so hard to make the right choices, people is almost in burnout while doing these choices. So as a travel company, if you really want to be helpful, it's not about selling the tickets to them. It's about helping them doing the right choices, making them feel safe. And UGC in this case is really helpful because somehow they can feel things before and they are more sure about having taken the right choice. So yes, this is the main thing that I see. Obviously, I'm biased because it's our product somehow, but yeah, I truly believe in this. I believe that if you help travelers to travel better, you're gonna be a super cool company in travel.
So the biggest help you think you give companies and travel companies, but not just also to travelers, is to share their true experiences. So authenticity is your, I don't know, your plus that you give
Yes.
to. What is a tip you would give people to make their content more authentic? And so how then companies can use that content to make their strategy more real and effective?
Absolutely. Well, to people, shooting the content is shoot it as it is the experience. So you need to make sure that what you're feeling and you're living is going to be seen and understood. Sometimes it's about showing the panorama. Sometimes it's about showing yourself while you eat the food, or sometimes it's showing yourself that you are taking this adventure and your expression by feeling the emotions is like what people is looking for. It really depends exactly on the experience, but like you have to shoot it as real as possible. And then to the companies, when you communicate now to on the internet in general, don't expect to be perfect, because like perfection is what is not selling today. What is selling is like using content of real people that is not have been paid for doing or saying something, and this content is gonna be impressively better in terms of conversion on any other content that you spend a lot of money for. So give it a try. That's my advice to the companies. And like every innovative thing, you need to give enough time to the team to have the opportunity to do that in the right way and get the results, and then they decide to invest in that. And we actually are helping companies to do so without big investments in the beginning, with small POCs and all this stuff.
Okay, sounds good. So we're gonna have a lot of guests in the future episodes. I don't want to say what guests you're thrilled to have here, because I'm sure all of them are going to bring something to the table, are going to add some value to this podcast, to the industry. Let's talk about travel. What is a trip that you cannot wait to take? So what is the destination you want to go to first?
Okay. The funny thing is that I'm traveling a lot, but for work right now. And I miss traveling for leisure, for myself. And I miss it a lot. I think I cannot wait to go back to Asia. Generally, like there is few countries that are like, I really want to go back, like Malaysia, Indonesia, but maybe not Bali, which is very mainstream right now. I cannot wait to go to South America. I mean, to every single country. They are so beautiful and different from each other as well. So, but if I have to pick a trip, it's probably my honeymoon, which is not yet defined in time. We're planning that. Likely it's going to be the American coast to coast with Hawaii at the end. But that's also very expensive. So Blinkoo has to be very successful to be able to afford that honeymoon.
So let's hope this podcast is going to help, Blinkoo growth.
I'm sure it will.
So let's kind of wrap this up. And if you could pick a person, live or dead, to travel with, who that person would be and why, and where you would bring this person?
Well, I promised to my grandfather, which is alive. He's 91 now, and he is amazing. He's like probably the wiser person I've ever met in my life. To bring him to Rome. He has never been to Rome. So he's Albanian. So I mean, if he was Italian, it would be weird to don't have gone to Rome. But he's not Italian, so I have to do that. And also, I believe that I don't know if this is gonna be possible because it will be very hard. I'd like to bring him to Kuala Lumpur because he's been there in the 60s. It's a very particular story. He was an engineer. He was moved from Albania to China for work, and he was crossing by then at that time, which it was already somehow, interesting and modern for him, coming from a place where it was the communism, right? I'd like to show him Kuala Lumpur today because it's literally insane. It's so beautiful.
So it was the first time, the first episode. I think we did pretty good. I hope so. But the next guest, I'm not going to be the host anymore. I'm going to be behind the scenes. But what are you expecting from the next guest? We're not going to say who they will join us, but what they do and what their businesses do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, very excited for the first one. It's good to be a guest because being a host, there is a little bit more responsibility. You need to check a lot of things, and seeing how you do that is obviously inspiring me. So I will see how then my experience will be. I'm really excited about these people because we picked them in a very specific way. They are. I would say the audience is diverse because it's not just, managers of corporations. We have between managers of corporations, innovators in corporations, but also startuppers like me that already built some kind of success around them. And they are good at talking, they are good at sharing what they're doing. But especially, it's people, all of the people that are invited, I love their vision of the world. I'm working with them. They are kind of... maybe I could not call them friends because we're just working together somehow, but at work, yeah, they would be friends for sure. And it's people that I like and that have somehow an idea of how the world should be, and they participate to this vision very actively, building something that at the end, as a mission and vision, is like, wow, I'm feeling so relieved that somebody's doing this in the world. And you will see, like with the first guest, they are cool. I really like them. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So if you want to get inspired or know more about the travel industry, the future of this market, but also other things, just follow us and keep watching this podcast.
Yeah. By the time it will be better and better, and we will somehow, I believe, collect a lot of insane insights coming from people that is really making a difference. And I am 100% sure about that for a very simple reason. These people are inspiring me today. I'm learning something every day in every interaction. So somehow putting, all together, step by step in a place where we ask them the right questions, this is going to be a lot of cool information. And I believe that the industry needs that. And it's our mission to make sure that people listen to the, right moves today to somehow make their brands lasting long.
Okay, yes. So thank you, Smeraldo, for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so see you soon on this podcast.
On the other side.
On the other side, yeah, I'm going to be on the other side.
Super cool. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here.